Peter Obi just said he might not be alive to contest the 2027 election. And the Nigerian government responded by asking him to pay a 25,000 naira parking fine. This is today's briefcase. Let's open it. Last week, Peter Obi sat down for an interview with media personality Chude Jideonwo. And he said something that stopped Nigeria in its tracks. He said, "With the way this government is going, I may not even be alive to contest the 2027 election. Every single thing I do for a living, this government is deliberately frustrating. I face frustration every day." He went further. He said, "They won't come directly and say we are doing this, but you can see their hand in virtually everything." He said the attacks were not limited to him. He said the government was attacking everybody who was in opposition personally. He claimed that even things he was legally entitled to were being blocked. And he ended with words that made Nigeria go silent for a moment. He said there is even a possibility that if they have the opportunity, he would not be alive. Now let us be honest about what Peter Obi said, and what he did not say. He did not directly accuse President Tinubu of planning to kill him. He was careful about that. He said the government does not come directly. But the implication of his words was clear enough that millions of Nigerians heard it the same way. Peter Obi is afraid. Peter Obi believes the system is being used against him. And Peter Obi is not sure he will make it to January 2027. Those words, from a major presidential candidate, published on social media and shared millions of times, represent something Nigeria has not seen in this cycle before. Now let us talk about what happened next. Because the government's response to Peter Obi's death threat allegation was not a reassurance. It was not a statement of concern. It was a parking fine. Aviation Minister Keyamo went on his X account and released CCTV footage from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, dated July 4, 2026. He said Obi had arrived at the airport at around 8:28 p.m., entered the terminal with 2 other occupants, and left his vehicle unattended in a designated drop-off zone for approximately 30 minutes. He said, airport security, not knowing whose vehicle it was, clamped the tires. And he said that when Obi discovered what had happened, he identified himself to the airport manager by phone and, in Keyamo's words, peddled his influence to secure the release of his vehicle without paying the prescribed fine. Keyamo then issued an ultimatum. He demanded that Peter Obi tender an unreserved, public apology to the FAAN staff. He demanded that Obi return to the airport and pay the fine of 25,000 naira for wrongful parking. And he warned, if these demands are not met within 1 week, he would give the necessary directives to FAAN to take further action against him. Let us pause here. The presidential candidate of the NDC, running for the highest office in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has just been told publicly to pay a 25,000 naira parking fine or face consequences. 25,000 naira. In a country where billions disappear from government agencies without anyone being asked to pay anything. Now there are 2 ways to read this. The first reading, Keyamo is right. The law is the law. Nobody should be above it. If Peter Obi's vehicle was parked illegally, he should pay like everybody else. And if he used his name and his influence to get out of paying a legitimate fine, that is influence peddling, which is exactly the kind of behavior he has spent years campaigning against. If Peter Obi wants to be president of a country that follows the rule of law, he should start by following the same rules at an airport car park. The second reading, and this is the one millions of Nigerians immediately went to on social media, is that this is targeted. That the timing of Keyamo's intervention, coming days after Obi alleged death threats and harassment, is not coincidental. That a 25,000 naira parking fine is being used as a political weapon to humiliate a presidential candidate. To make him look small. To make him look like a rule breaker. To distract from the larger allegation he made, that this government is trying to destroy him. And then came Works Minister Umahi. And he did not hold back. He said, nobody wants Obi dead, it's not just reasonable. We all want him alive to contest this election and watch himself lose again. He said Obi was afraid because the APC was making inroads into the southeast. He said Obi's popularity in the region had been an accident of history. He said the Tinubu administration's visible development in the southeast was now changing the narrative. But here is the question that matters most. Is Peter Obi safe in Nigeria? Is the opposition in Nigeria safe? Because that is what he actually said. And nobody in this government has answered that question. Not Keyamo, not Umahi, not the presidency. They have addressed the parking fine. They have addressed the political arithmetic of the southeast. Nobody has stood up and said, Peter Obi is safe. Nobody will harm him. The rule of law will protect him. That silence, in Nigerian politics, says more than 1,000 press statements. This is not just about Peter Obi. Every opposition figure in Nigeria, every journalist, every activist, every ordinary Nigerian who has ever spoken against the government is watching how this plays out. Because if a presidential candidate can say publicly that he fears for his life, and the government's response is a parking fine, what does that say about where Nigeria is headed as we approach the most consequential election since 1999? Niger News Briefcase will be watching. Hit subscribe. Drop your comment. Do you believe Peter Obi's life is genuinely under threat, or is this political drama? I will see you in the next one.